Hello and welcome to another episode of Streaming Without a Paddle. And today, I'm not Andrew, I'm Mo.
And I'm Easy. I mean,
we are reviewing today You People, Netflix, 1 hour, 58 minutes, comedy. Actually, it's a rom-com.
yeah.
It's a romantic comedy.
Yeah, with a little drama towards the end.
Yeah, starring Jonah Hill, Eddie Murphy,
Lauren Lee,
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, David Duchovny.
David Duchovny was crushing it in every scene he was in.
I love
so
David.
Funny.
I love David Duchovny. I'm sorry, you can put him in any movie and it makes it for me.
Yeah,
it really does. So if you're a casting director or director or producer out there and you want your movie to at least hit, have one cylinder, you got to hire David Duchovny because he is it. He brings it.
He does bring it. I mean, the whole cast in this thing brought it. They were all funny or heartfelt or awkward or everything. I mean, the acting's pretty on point. I would say the writing is kind of whatever for me.
I really, I got a lot of personal things going on in my life right now, and when I sat down to watch this, I really needed it. So I watched it. I enjoyed it because I needed a break away, but I had to go back, and after I watched it, I processed it, and I thought, okay, now wait a minute. Did the circumstances in your life dictate your feelings about this movie because you're in a position where you really needed something to brighten up your day? Mm-hmm. You needed to turn around. So I turned around and I watched it again. I mean, I let 12 hours go by and situation kind of mellowed down and became more normal. And then I watched it again and I still enjoyed it. I still really enjoyed it. So, and just so everybody knows, this movie was written by Jonah Hill and Kenya
Barris, from Blackish and Mixed-ish, and he's great. He had a show where he played himself, and it was, I can't remember the name of the show, but it was hilarious.
Well, I loved it. I loved every bit of it.
I mean, I don't want you to get me wrong. I really enjoyed this movie, and I would watch it again. I just thought, like, some of the tropes are like, okay, yep, like, oh, like, it's just like, I've just seen it. I've seen it, like, a lot. Before we even got on here, I told you that Ashton Kutcher did this movie 17 years ago.
Yeah,
with Bernie Mac, and and like Jonah Hill's an Oscar-nominated actor. He's hilarious. His comedic timing and the way he delivers stuff is untouchable.
Well, you say that, and you're right. Ashton Kutcher did do this, and that was kind of like, I think the kind of a what's the best way to put it? It's like an introduction. It's like a warm up.
Yeah.
Because in the 17 years or whatever it's been since that, race relationships in this movie or in this nation have changed. And by the way, before we get going, You the People is a movie about a white LA Jewish person looking for love. And that would be Jonah Hill. Mm-hmm. And he falls in love with an African American young lady, Lauren London.
Lauren London, not Lauren Lee.
Yeah,
I don't know why I said Lauren Lee.
Oh, that's okay because Nia Long was the mother, and
they did not use her enough. Nia Long is a great actress. I was like, she's not. I mean, she had a couple of little things happening, but she was just like, they didn't really let her flex at all or do anything.
Well, yeah, my thing about this movie was, I knew Jonah Hill was involved with the writing part of it, and I didn't realize that Kenyon Barris was, and he is an African American gentleman, and obviously Jonah Hill is white, and so when I watched this movie, I was like, oh, here we go again, emancipation that we discussed a few weeks back. I was like, all right. But once I found out that Kenya Barris co-wrote this and directed it, I thought the directing was fantastic on it. It kind of, all right, it eased my mind a little bit, because this was equal input from an African American standpoint. And I loved in this movie. Anyway, I'm going to just going to back up real quick. Go back to the story. He falls in love with an African American woman. He's from a Jewish family who's pretty open. I mean, I don't think they really cared. I didn't get that. However,
they have a gay daughter. I mean, they really hit that point home. It's like cliche. It really was. That's my problem with it. It's like it's so many tropes and cliches that they've fallen into. That's every review on IMDb is like, yeah, this is fine. It's a lot of cliche. Like, it's like, you know, I mean, I get it. It's just they underused Eddie Murphy. Like, the best part of this movie was the love story between those two people.
Oh, it was. It was, you know.
Because every time they had awkward interaction with their families, it's like if my mother had acted as if his mother did when she met her, and he pulled her aside and was like, "Hey, Mom, cut it out. Stop acting like a weirdo." But she kept doing it.
But I think that's her MO though, as the mother, because you know she's in the middle. They're in the middle of synagogue, and she's yelling at him for not wearing his yarmulke. And I mean, right in the middle of the service that's going on, there's no filter with Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, who plays Jonah Hill's mother. And the opposite of that is that David Duchovny, who plays Jonah Hill's dad, he's so laid back. But I think that was the funny thing about Julia Louis-Dreyfus playing the mother was, you know, there's a certain level of nervousness when that happens, and you're in an awkward situation, whether it's on when I was in high school and I would bring a girl home, oh my gosh, yeah, my mom would. It was like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, no, I still go through it, and I've been with Paige for a very long time, and I'm still like, sometimes my mom will say something to her, and I'm like, "Shh, what are you doing?" Like we're planning a wedding, and it's like stressful, and it's like all this stuff, and my mom will be like, "Well, we didn't do it that way back in 1990, blah blah blah, when your sister got," and I'm like, "What? You're the mom of me. You don't have any say so. Just be quiet and enjoy."
Oh yeah, so I thought she played that. You know, she's open, but she's scared. She's nervous about the whole thing because life isn't working out in her Jewish world. At least that's what I gathered. Well, I thought she played it great, and then Duchovny is the father who's just super chill.
Well, I'm not saying that's what I'm trying to say to you. I don't. No one wasn't good in the movie.
Right.
Eddie Murphy, what they wrote for him was sort of one note. He didn't have another way to play it because he's a ridiculously good actor. He wasn't funny at all. They didn't let him be funny.
Well, I know what you're saying, and I just want to touch back, and that's why after I watched it the first time, found out who directed it and who co-wrote it, and it brought a little ease to my mind. Okay, all right, Eddie Murphy's character, the African American father of the daughter, who is a Christian turned Muslim, he kind of plays the racist in this movie, so I was okay with that. You know, at least that's what I gathered from it. Was I took that Eddie's family, Eddie and his wife. You know, he got the crown. Forget what it's called, but from Malcolm X.
Yeah.
You know, so and of course Malcolm X was, as we find out in this movie, if you didn't already know or you're reminded of, Malcolm X has said a lot of bad things about Jewish people. So. And here he is sporting this crown that he got from Malcolm X. So it brought me a lot of comfort to know, okay, all right, I can accept Eddie Murphy playing the more racist of the two families than what it is, because it was co-written by an African American.
I get it.
So but I thought Eddie was funny. I
didn't think he was that funny. I didn't let it. He was good. With what he was given. The funniest scene in this entire movie was when they tried to pull it off that Jonah Hill had any athletic ability in his entire body. Like, that was so fake, everything he was doing. I was like, you couldn't dribble down a basketball court if somebody paid you. You are the most uncoordinated looking person I've ever seen.
I got, no joke. But he turns out to be the super basketball player.
I get it.
That was so funny.
Watching him in the scenes, he couldn't dribble.
He couldn't.
He was like, and then he would shoot a three, and I'd be like, this is funny because of that.
But it was, you're right. It was funny. That you're right. That is the funniest scene in the whole movie. And the setup of that is Eddie Murphy's character takes him to an African American ball court because Jonah Hill, who's trying to fit in with this family, he says he shoots hoops, and he goes to Lincoln Hill or something like that and plays, and so Eddie calls him out on it, and takes him.
But he can ball.
But he can ball. He can really ball. It's funny. But when you watch that scene, you quickly learn that Jonah Hill cannot dribble. I mean,
he might have shot that three, but he can't dribble.
That was the funny thing, because there were a lot of quick little cuts of spectacular shots made by Jonah Hill, and the character. But the first shot is him getting the ball and attempting to dribble. It was great.
Also, his new look that he's got going on, because he's been rocking that blonde hair sort of look going on for a while now.
I liked it. I
think he's still rocking it.
He's
playing Cherry Garcia next.
He's slimmed down a little bit and or grown tall or whatever you want to say. But I liked him. He wasn't physically Jonah Hill from Superbad.
He hasn't been Jonah Hill from that for years.
Or even Wolves of Wall Street. Anyway,
I think this movie is entertaining, and I think has good performances. And I was pulling for them to. I don't want to ruin the movie for anybody listening, but I was pulling for them to make it. I just don't think. I think that the script for me was the issue. It was just too full of. Well, and if Baldwin Hills is like people in LA is like this black Beverly Hills, and I mean it is like they say that in this movie, and it's like I get it. I get what the movie's about. It's just there's nothing special about this movie for me. But I don't entertained. Entertained.
No, I don't. I don't think there's anything special about this movie. It was highly entertaining. Getting back to Eddie and being funny in this movie. After I watched it, I was like, well, you know what? He really wasn't that funny. But then I got thinking about his previous movies, and he had a couple of good one-liners in here. There could have been more. But you look back to Beverly Hills Cops and another 48 Hours. Eddie Murphy, and those are indelible in my mind because those were his breakout films, and that set the Eddie Murphy standard for me.
Golden Child. He was very serious as his characters were very serious, but he had those one-liners. He doesn't have any one-liners in this.
No,
he had one scene when he was in the barbershop and Jonah Hill's wearing red, and they're in a.
They're in the Crips.
They're in the Crips shop, and they're like, "Hey man, you mind taking that red sweatshirt off?" And Eddie Murphy leans over. He goes, I mean, I don't know if you should be wearing that, but also you don't want to look like a bitch. You might want to keep that on, because if you go to prison and he starts going off like that, that's the funniest he was in the movie.
Yeah,
because he ran down like, if you go to prison, you can't be anybody's bitch, and it was very funny.
It was. I think there was a lack of one-liners for Eddie Murphy's talent, but I get it. I mean, he always plays a serious guy. I was just looking back at all of them. He doesn't come out. I mean, I know there's Bowfinger, and he plays, the Steve Martin's PA that just happens to be the brother of a real famous actor who too is very serious.
I mean, I don't need the clumps or whatever. I don't need the Nutty Professor Eddie Murphy. But like, yeah, what I'm saying is those classic Eddie Murphy movies, 48 Hours and Another 48 Hours, and all of those movies have like one-liners.
I'm with you.
He had no one-liners.
No.
It is a waste in the script. I was like,
they wasted a good Eddie Murphy.
You have a person that was on Saturday Night Live when they were 19 years old. Drink that in. Eddie Murphy was 19. When he did Delirious, he was 20.
I'm laughing because it wasted a perfectly good Eddie Murphy.
I mean, I thought they did. That's just me. We were going to get a ton of more of Eddie Murphy because he's great and he's always been... He had some misses in the 2000s, but he's back. He's been back for a long time, but yeah.
Yeah, no. All right, I like this movie, and just real quick, getting back to what this movie's about, Jonah Hill, white Jewish LA guy, falls in love with a daughter of a devout Muslim, and they both fall in love. And of course, there's a lot of stress between the two families, you know, getting married and all that, and so it's about conflict of a emotional sense. It's a rom-com, and so just, you know, you can just imagine the things that, you know, planning a wedding with two racially different families and religious. That you know, it's not even about the race. It was about the religious. Yeah,
it's more about the religion
because it was, you know, they emphasized the Jewish aspect really heavily, and then the Muslim aspect. And I loved Dion Cole.
Yeah.
As Eddie Murphy's brother in this movie. He just cracks me up. I mean,
he's funny.
He's so hysterical, and he refused to call Eddie Murphy by his Muslim name, and
that was funny.
He was always Woody. Your name is Woody.
Yeah,
which brought a lot of reality to it. But anyway,
I enjoyed the girl that he went that Jonah Hill went on a date with because his mom wanted to set him up with the girl from synagogue.
Oh, right,
and she's like, so what do you do? I work in financial, but what do you... it's not really my passion. And she goes, what's your passion? He goes, I do a podcast.
Yeah.
And she goes, about what? And he goes, the culture. And what culture? And he's like, you know, about like rap and fashion and sports. And she just looked at him and, what do you know about the culture? You're from West LA.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're a Jew from West LA.
Yeah.
I laughed. I laughed out loud at that line. It was funny.
That was.
She was good.
There are funny moments in this. And by the way, Jonah Hill's character in this movie, we were talking about, you know, podcast. He's in finance. Big shocker. A Jew from West LA. He's a broker, but his real passion is, and that's why we opened the show with, I'm Mo, and that's Eazy-E, is that Jonah Hill aspirations is he wants to be a podcaster. And
hey, I've got aspirations. I hope this podcast goes that way.
So that's why we opened the show. I'm Mo, that's Eazy-E, because those are the two people in Jonah Hill's podcast. Anyway, which, by the way, his partner who plays Mo on the podcast, Sam Joy, she was phenomenal.
Yeah.
She
writer on Saturday Night Live.
She is that really okay?
And performer.
Oh, she's
great.
She's funny. She was funny.
She was actually to think about it. She had every scene she was in. She was killing it.
She was, because she was so serious. She was. I mean, she had that. She projected the black power. I'm in it for the game kind of thing, and was setting Jonah Hill's character straight the whole time. Which, by the way, his character's name was what? Ezra. And so the Eazy-E part there. Anyway, yeah, I did. I needed it. I watched it twice because I like I said, I thought maybe my view might have been tainted because I really needed a laugh.
I was in a really good mood when I watched it.
I still laughed the second time, so I was like, okay. But it was it great? No, you're right. It's been done dozens of times before, and it was a new twist on it. The thing that I didn't like about this movie the most was the use of the N-word.
Okay.
It was. I mean, every other sentence it seemed like was the N word when Eddie and it was around his family. You know, he referred to his kids or his son. You know, oh hey, beep. You know, what are you talking about? You know, that kind of thing. But anyway, that was the only thing that really kept setting me back. But I was okay with it. Once I realized that Kenyon Barris was the co-writer of it and director of it. So if he was cool with it, I guess I get to be cool with it too.
Yeah.
That's my pass. And he's in the movie, by the way. He joins going to flight to Vegas for a bachelor party, and he sits down next to Jonah Hill on the airplane.
Oh, that was him.
And he's got that one line about killing somebody. You know, and it was very funny, but it was very, it was the very LA, like very LA. I feel like you need to almost live in LA to really get a lot of the references. The bachelor party, like Jonah Hill's supposed to be 36 years old. Yeah.
Hey, if you're doing blow when you're almost 40 at a bachelor party, then you have bigger issues. Like, yeah, I get it. All your friends are like just doing tons of blow. It's just like, what? You're not 25.
Yeah, no, but that was actually kind of a shocker to me because when they get to Vegas for the bachelor party, all his buddies are like, "Where's your guy? Where's your coke guy?
Yeah.
Where's your coke guy?" And Jonah Hill's there. What are you talking about? Because Eddie Murphy, his soon-to-be father-in-law, is sitting right next to him at a strip joint. You know, it's a bachelor party, and all his buddies keep going, "We're out of coke. Where's your coke guy? Where's your coke guy?" I go, "I don't know what you're talking about." You know. So I don't think that's a spoiler, but it was really out of character, that scene.
Yeah, because the whole time he hadn't done anything.
No, you know, he was squeaky clean.
He done had some wine with his girlfriend. That was it. It's I mean, it's whatever. It's just like it was a out of place scene.
It was out of place. But
I'm about to have a bachelor party, and I can tell you, there's not going to be any cocaine or strippers there.
You don't have a coke guy, Ted?
I don't have a coke guy. Nope. I know. I'm a nerd, I guess.
Oh wow! Look, the lines are lighting up here. There's coke guys calling up. Hey, I got you, Ted. Anyway, I enjoyed it. Not the greatest thing that Eddie Murphy's ever done. I agree. It was a little disappointing on him from his character, but he doesn't always have to be funny.
And I would say, if I were rating this,
well, we are going to rate it.
I know. I would say, we are going to rate it, but I would say, yeah, it's worth a watch. Put it on. I didn't lose attention the whole time. I just was like, there were just things that would happen in scenes. I'd be like, okay, here we go. This is awkward again because the parents it's just, I was just like, I've seen it. I've done it. I've never done it, but I've seen it and I've like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'd say.
And Julia Louis-Dreyfus was just classic Veep character.
I don't know Veep. I've never seen it. But I understand what you mean.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, you could even say Elaine Bennis, but from Seinfeld.
I know Seinfeld.
Her character there. But she played, character-wise, pretty much the same role as she does in Veep. Very quick, which from a writing standpoint, I found that to be amazing that Jonah and Kenya wrote the script, and I'm just guessing they had people in mind when they did it, because the tenor and the tone of these people that are Julia Louis-Dreyfus, it's like it was written for her.
In my experience on set with bigger actors,
it is.
Well, no, I mean it is, but even if it's not, I mean they can. You know what? I think I'd say this more this way.
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
Well, I loved her in this, and I love her in everything she does, and she did not disappoint. There were times where she was a scene stealer. Especially when the two families were together. I mean, the focus of the funny became off of her and David Duchovny, and not Eddie Murphy and Lauren London, who played really serious, people in this movie. And Duchovny, I love him. I didn't like Californication that much, but
Because it's just banging girls and drinking.
But he was so funny in it. He was great.
I watched some of it. It was pretty good.
I was living in LA at the time when that came out, and it was really the kind of personification of, people, what your stereotype or what your thought of LA was. So he nailed that role. Now, I didn't watch the X-Files. I wasn't a Mueller.
I watched some of it.
I didn't watch that.
I was like a hit or miss, because you could just pick an episode up and watch it. It wasn't always
right. Yeah, but I love Duchovny. I think he's great. And again, I would just if you need one cylinder in your movie to work, just hire David Duchovny because he'll provide that cylinder. I guess you could say the same way for Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
For all of them, Lauren London, she was really funny in our introduction to her with that guy.
Oh yeah,
the guy hitting on her, and she's like, "Stop calling me!" And she's like, let me see your phone real quick." And she goes, "Oh, okay." Yeah, she was really funny then.
Yeah, no, she was wonderful. She was wonderful. But anyway, all right, Ted, let's get to the nuts and bolts of this.
Okay.
Because, and like I said, I've thought long and hard. I've seen it twice now, and I saw it twice within a 36-hour period. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give this movie, and this is where I was torn. I wanted to give it an 80 when I think that's too low. And then I thought an 85, and I said that's too high. So I'm going to give it an 83. That's where I'm at, because 85 is definitely too high.
That's a B.
It is. It's a B movie.
That's a B. Yeah.
I mean, it's a low B, but it's a B movie. And 80, anything below 80 would be too low for this. So, that's me. I like the fact that I think it did a little healing after, and especially after watching Emancipation. It does a little healing for at least me on race relationships. Like there's hope that we can get along. So that's where I'm at.
I'm going to give it a 74.
Ooh.
It's a C. It's entertaining. But, I mean, I'm not going to ever watch it again. I'm not
intentionally.
No. Oh, I mean, yeah.
Oh, I'll watch it. If it's on, look, there it is. Let's watch that again.
Yeah,
it'll be 6 months before I do it, but
yeah, it's just not something I would watch again. But yeah, it's entertaining. Everyone should, if you like those type of movies, if you like the rom-commy, relationshipy, family, like Meet the Fockers, but about religion or race relation or whatever, then this is your kind of flick.
I think we needed that movie. I think we did. I think society needs to just go, you know what, get over it. Put your differences aside and let's just get on and go forward together. And the movie ends on a very high note.
Yes.
Don't ruin it. I'm not. Well, not from an action standpoint, but, the Eddie Murphy character and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, more so Eddie's character, Woody. He had a real come to reality moment. He needed to come down off his horse. He did. I mean, I'm just going to say, he came across to me, and it might be because I'm a white guy, but he came across to me as the bigger racist of everybody in that movie.
I think it's because we're white.
And you think so?
I think so. I don't.
Well, look at it from this standpoint. Not ruining anything in the movie. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, or let's just say Jonah Hill's family, were much more accepting of the African-American girl, Amira, than Eddie Murphy's family. I mean, they didn't accept
neither
one. White guy.
Neither one. That's what I'm saying. There were like 8 scenes of Julia Louis-Dreyfus being overly awkward. That's what I'm saying. It's the same trope.
Well, here's what sums up my point. Jonah Hill invites, and this is not a spoiler, because it's in the teasers out there. Jonah Hill invites Amira's, who's played by Lauren London, parents, Eddie Murphy and Nia Long, out to lunch. And Jonah Hill gets up from the table, and Eddie Murphy turns to his wife and says, "This is your fault, being there's a white kid wanting to marry their daughter, because your white grandfather or great-grandfather is coming back to haunt me."
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you didn't hear any of that from the other family or Jonah Hill's family. And they were very accepting that their daughter was a lesbian. And so anyway, I did. That was just me. I liked it. I'll see it again.
Okay.
Yep. I agree. I was disappointed with Eddie, but I was expecting, you see Eddie Murphy in a movie, you expect funny. I guess we can get over that now. Mm-hmm. We should just, it's like Bill Murray. Moving on to deeper talents, I guess. Anyway, the movie again is You People. It's on Netflix. It's 1 hour and 58 minutes. It's an easy watch, start to finish. Mm-hmm. So I say watch it. I'm an 83. Ted, you're a
74. Watch it.
74. All right. Well, now that I know that Ted doesn't feel that strong about this, I'm no longer Mo. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Ted.
Thanks for listening.